Now I gotta make this video demonstrating how a person can meet his or her spouse or fiance when the seventh lord is placed in the second house. By the way, when I'm referring to the seventh lord also means the seventh house ruler. So it's the same thing, but in Vedic terminology, they describe the house rulers by using the words called lords. I always knew this information, but this placement in particular is something I have been researching for years now to fully master. I had to quickly upload this one because I came across a post on Tumblr and I saw how the person mentioned when the seventh lord is in the second house, a person can meet their spouse when they are spending money or at a coffee shop. And then she emphasized on malls and restaurants. She literally doubled down on the malls and restaurants part. I think she even used the words especially. This made me irate. I was furious. You know why? Because the shopping part makes no sense. Like, you aren't gonna meet your spouse at a cash register. You gotta be more specific than that. I get more irate because nobody has ever used that mall or restaurant part except me. I made a post on Tumblr describing my experience when I tried predicting on myself. I literally gave a whole story about when I was at the mall and I was at this food court or a place where there are many restaurants, and I was sitting down at like a cafeteria spot right next to those restaurants. Before I talked about the prediction, I explained how it happened because I had a Rahu and Venus conjunction in my second house. I was like, damn, this person probably came across my post and just like ripped that off, which I don't have an issue with if like the person at least give me a like or send me money or something. You know what I mean? I apologize if I'm wrong. Maybe they didn't came across my post. I don't know, but similarities were too familiar. My next inspiration for this post came from a lady that I talked to on Reddit yesterday. She has a similar placement, but it wasn't about her spouse. Anyways, let me explain how a person that has the seventh lord can meet his or her spouse. Now you have to be careful following this placement because meeting your spouse has many factors. You have to figure out what chart this placement would work in. I don't even use the tropical chart when determining how a person meets their spouse. I only give that additional information when someone pays me because I know most people only know about their tropical chart. Now, when you meet your spouse, it could be a scenario like in the Tumblr post I had made where I tried predicting for myself. The post meant a lot to me because I was observing that prediction like a year prior before it happened. In that post, I didn't talk to the girl, but when a person meets their spouse, it is very likely that you will have a conversation with them. It isn't always going to be an instance where you meet them and then 3 weeks later are having sex or in a relationship together. Nope. When the seventh lord is in the second house, a person can meet their spouse at a bar. So, a sports bar can be an example. Secondly, at a restaurant, cafe, coffee shop, pavilion, or food courts. It could even be at a fast food restaurant, especially a place like Starbucks nowadays. This happens because the second house has to do with the intake of food. We know the second house deals with the mouth, the throat, and stuff like that. So I'm assuming places where you drink at as well. This is where the bar and, to my surprise, the coffee shop came into play. Just yesterday, I was talking to a female on Reddit and I was observing a placement in her chart. Her placement wasn't spouse related. I could easily predict how someone meets their spouse, no joke. I did it for her in one attempt, no joke, so she could testify. I'm not gonna show her name, but she'll see this video. So if she wants to comment and reveal herself, that's up to her. She certainly loves pigs and farm animals. Back to her story. She told me how she met a guy through her friends at a place called Books, Beans, and Candles. Trust me, I don't know what the hell that is, but I love to research. Indeed, it seems to be a coffee place where people read books and stuff, similar to Starbucks. The guy she met through her friends' help was at the restaurant or, I guess, coffee shop where her friends introduced her to him. I always use the bar scenario, but the coffee part caught me off guard. To the person on Tumblr credit, they did mention coffee shop. I always thought that was crazy, but I wasn't open minded. Then I realized what we eat has to do with drinking as well. So a person with the seventh lord in the second house can meet his or her spouse at any place where there is eating or drinking going on. Again, think about the cafeteria or food court scenario. At school, we used to have pavilions where snacks and lunches were sold. So, places like that in the USA, they have lunchrooms or cafeterias. Honestly, someone with this placement can even meet their spouse at a buffet. So, if you're attending a school luncheon or a graduation ceremony, you know, when people celebrate, they go to a luncheon, a restaurant, have dinner, which makes me wonder, you might be going to a friend's birthday dinner where that friend invites tons of people. You go to it and boom, you might just meet your spouse. Who knows? You might just go to eat some Wendy's one day and decide to just sit inside and eat. Next thing you know, a conversation with your future spouse slash fiance could be sparked up. The third option is the strip club. I know this because years back I read a female's birth chart from like England and she was a stripper. Obviously, she met a lot of guys at the strip club. I think she used to bartend too. This happens because there is a bar within a strip club. Some people even eat at the strip club. I follow a lot of strippers and bartenders from New York. They are like eye candy to me. They be giving me all kinds of cavities with the way they look. Seeing their BBLs puts my brain in like a ecstasy state or something. I don't know. I follow them on Instagram and stuff. A lot of guys go up to their bars or whatever and shoot conversations, throw money at them. Next thing you know, the girls disappear from the clubs. The whole time is because they had met their husband at a strip club. I'd be happy for the woman but angry because they stopped working on my timeline. Trust me, lots of females start families this way. You see this a lot with rappers or famous athletes even. If you're a bartender, male or female, with the seventh lord in the second house, it is very likely you meet your spouse at the bar, even on your day off. A fourth way is very rare. I haven't seen it happen yet, so this option is like an honorable mention. It can be through the introduction of a family member because the second house represents your family's traditions, lineage, and culture. It represents how your family members interact with other family members, which doesn't make this a great example because the second house doesn't represent one specific family member like how the fourth house can represent your mother. Maybe you can meet your spouse at a family gathering, family funeral, or a family cookout or something. I'm not so sure about the fourth option, but the first three options, like meeting your spouse at a bar, are the most common. I never tested this placement before on any celebrity. This was something I learned from just reading people's charts that paid me. Let me try. I'm a Gemini ascendant, and I already know for these ascendants, the seventh lord is Jupiter. The first one I tried was Robert De Niro, and it worked. Lo and behold, he met his former wife, Grace Hightower, at a restaurant Grace worked at. In 1987, he was in his Rahu Antardasha. I'm not going to explain that part. It boggles my mind that I'm not popular with this astrology stuff, yet when I am clearly superior than most. Anyways, follow me on the other apps. There will be more videos to come.